Hey everyone, Freddrock here. Have you ever heard of anything called wrestling game fatigue? Well, I tried out WWE 2K Battlegrounds on the PlayStation, and I've got to say, I am exhausted of this repeating pattern from the developers and the publishers just throwing out the same issues and the same problems over and over again. This game takes the place of the annual outcome that is a disaster of what the WWE 2K series of wrestling games has been. Without taking a year off, they released WWE 2K Battlegrounds, which comes with almost the same problems that the previous games come with, which in your mind you think maybe they should have taken a year off and just redone the whole entire thing. Before I go down this rabbit hole of problems and issues and everything else that is going on with this game, let's just start with the basics of what this game truly is. So this game is supposed to be a very flashy, crazy version of what previous wrestling games in this series have been. It's not supposed to be about realism, it's supposed to be about the more arcadey style of games. You start out with a basic campaign mode where you're supposed to go through the story, and the story is shown in a comic book style. The idea through these comics is that Paul Heyman wants to form his own brand of wrestling with existing wrestlers. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you want to play a wrestling game to read a lot of text? No. The answer should always be no. But this game makes you read comic book page after comic book page after comic book page of a lot of text. And I just could not handle that and did not want to continue in it. I did, and I pushed through, but it's not something that your average wrestling game player would want to endure. Once you get through those comic book pages, you start to fight all of these random wrestlers that are in the WWE, some from the past, some from the present, it's just a random assortment of people that you are just a no-name wrestler trying to make their way through a roster, and you have all of these modes, whether it's just single basic exhibition matches, you can have the cage match, like tag team matches, like etc, etc, etc. You can have all of these, but those are just your regular matches that you would have in any wrestling game, so it doesn't really heighten anything. The fact is, as you go through the story mode, the campaign mode, by the time you get to the end, you don't feel like you've accomplished anything. There's a bunch of unlocks and upgradables and stuff that you actually don't even go for because you're just trying to power through this seemingly, 8 to 10 hour campaign that just becomes a little bit mind-numbing. It doesn't look like they put any polish into it. So once again, it just pushes the fact that they just tried to release an annual game, and whether that's pressure from the WWE or this pressure from 2K, I'm not sure, but it just seems like they put something out so that they could make money. Now let's talk about money for a second. This game comes at a cost, so you have to pay real money for this game, and then in the game they want you to pay for microtransactions, so they want you to pay for actual wrestlers. Why do I have to pay for character unlocks on big superstars out of the gate on a game that I already paid for? This game would have been better suited as a free-to-play model game where I had to earn the outside currency, another currency, to unlock these. So why didn't the model come out like that instead of costing the consumer an actual amount of money and then making them pay more and more and more? And I know that this is how most of these big brand AAA companies work now, but the free-to-play model is even more successful today than it ever has been. So it's like this game should have had that included, or had that in mind at least. All this game does is bring flash, but no depth. And you can see that with a lot of the wrestlers. So in terms of how each wrestler works, there's a lot of class-based wrestlers in here. So each wrestler has their own class, which virtually has a move set. But if you go from like the brawlers to the high flyers to whatever, like every single big guy has the same move set except for like their signature or their finishing move, and then every single high flyer has the same move set except for their signature, like finishing move, anything like that. So you're virtually still you're playing the same character, so it wouldn't even matter which big guy you picked. You're getting the same moves, so it becomes stale after a while, and that's why we say it's all flash and no depth in terms of what the series has been in the past too, with the 2K series. As realism versus arcade, it hasn't really changed that much. Sure, the 2K series for realism allows you to edit the move sets and have more realism in terms of that, but it basically comes down to you are playing as the same characters over and over and over again without really being able to fine-tune what they're doing, and it just doesn't come across as fun. And that's what these games are missing from back in the day of WCW versus NWO Revenge, or WWF No Mercy, or anything like that. Like, I used to play that even on PlayStation, like WWF Warzone and SmackDown and all those things. Like, those were amazing games back in the time, and there was so much that you could do for that time period. And there's something missing. There's something that's not in these games anymore that we really need to turn around and come back on. Because let's look at even the modes in this game, where you have things like the campaign mode. You have things like challenge mode, which is basically campaign mode, but you create a custom character. And sure, there's a cool custom character creator in this, but once again, it's something that's just brought over, and of course you're going to have something like this in a wrestling game. And then you have online modes where you are wrestling other people from around the world, and the only problem here is that this game is so forgiving. WWE 2K Battlegrounds is so forgiving in how they allow you to like counter moves and parry and anything like that, that the game actually ends up, every match against an online player ends up who can just push the buttons faster and who can click on the prompts, or press the prompts. So if you're about to grapple somebody, or if you're about to do a move that can be countered, it's very easy to do so. So you end up going against people who your matches are counter, and nobody really makes any progress, and these matches have become very, very long. So the online mode is something that I avoided a lot because it just wasn't fun. It just was like, these matches are taking way longer than they need to because the prompt to counter a move was so forgiving that we easily did it, like every single time. So yeah, it's a mode that just was not something that they thought of in terms of AI versus an actual person. I really, really wanted to like this game because I really like the arcade style of wrestling. And when I saw this game in a trailer, I was very excited for what it could have been. But as soon as I hopped into this game, it just felt like the broken pieces were lingering from the previous iterations of these titles. And I was truly disappointed. I can't recommend this game to anybody. I really do think that they should have gone in a free-to-play model. I wish that they had gone on a free-to-play model, but that still doesn't forgive them for not making this game polished, because there are so many bugs in so many modes. I could talk about the King of the Battlegrounds mode. I could talk about all the issues that are through there, and they've been spoken to a ton. But this game did not get the polish that it needed, and it just carries the same bugs over and over and over again. Just listen to the commentary, play the game for a bit, and you'll see that there's so many broken parts to this game that it doesn't really deserve your time or your money. Yeah, I can't recommend this. Content that gets released. Also, you can catch me live on twitch.tv/Freddrock as I stream a variety of games over there. All other ways to support me are down in the description below, so feel free to click on any of those links. Thanks again.